I think when you look at the amount of the forestry which is available in Russia, what's also is important that despite that the forestry management and the forestry woodworking business is developing through the years, we are doing, and it's obligated by legislation, 100% of replantation. So, and this is a huge potential that I believe today is mislooked. Even for us, like for the company, if we account for our forestry resource base with the same mathematical or calculation as the Canadians or some of the Scandinavian country, we would have been having a CO2 positive, and we will be able actually to make a business out of it and selling the certifications left and right for the people who and the industries who is in need. So I think the forestry, as in general, in Russia are significantly overlooked for the benefit that is bring from the CO2 emission perspective. So I think once this is set up and done, and I'm sure the world will give it a fair valuation, we will be a beneficiary of it. In general, the Russian forest, in my personal opinion, is significantly undervalued.
Rovshan, it's not without increased scrutiny, though, and Earthsight put out a report quite recently where they made the case that IKEA was using wood, this is just an allegation, but using wood that was unjustifiably taken from the Russian Far East and Siberia. I wonder if you can just comment on these kind of NGO and think tank-led reports, which increasingly are suggesting that some companies maybe are not using best practice when it comes to the wonderful resources you have in Siberia and Russia Far East.
Look, in general, the industry have been developing tremendously. And over the past year, I believe it have turned around completely from top to bottom. It used to be a small individuals or the private small companies. Now it's taking more by the larger businesses who is looking at it rather than a short term, more in the long term. And once the companies start looking to it more the long term, they start to manage and care about the forestry resources much more. We have seen that across the board. And what is another point is, for example, I'll give you my example, and a lot of Russian big players are following the same lead. In the Segezha, we are participating in a global market. We are selling our product to the more than 100 countries. So to be competitive and to also to prove that our products is done in a sustainable, produced in a sustainable manner, and 89% of our all forestry is certified by the International Forestry Stewardship Council. And this certification that is done on an annual basis, and they're going from the forestry in the great detail and manage it and confirming that yes, indeed, they're doing everything right. And I think the more and more the forestry will be moving into the control of the businesses who is looking at it more in long term, the more it would be a beneficiary.